Hello and welcome to another Doctor's Assistant 1 video, and today I'm doing a review of a classic Doctor Who DVD and or episode, being Attack of the Cybermen. Yes, a Colin Baker story, a 6th Doctor one for those of you who don't know who Colin Baker is, and that. But yeah, to be fair, in my defence, the reason why I haven't reviewed a lot of Colin Baker stories is primarily because not only is he a Doctor that I'm not too fond with, and if you've, watched my channel for some time, you'll probably know that. I mean, that's just my opinion, and I don't know, I mean, to be fair, in my defence, my other point is that I only have 4 of his episodes, and, you know, so I can't really judge his Doctor very well, you know, and that, in that respect, but also, yeah, from what I have seen, I've not massively liked his Doctor a lot, but then on the flip side, from what I have listened to his Doctor in the Big Finish audios, I have liked. So yeah, it's a bit of an odd one there, but yeah. So in my defence, that's why I haven't reviewed a lot of Colin Baker stories, because 1, I don't really have that many, and 2, I'm not too fond with his Doctor, but not even his Doctor, but just his era per se, and all some of the stories that are in his run. But yeah, you got Colin Baker there in the circle there. Colin Baker years 1984 to 1986. Rating. You got Colin Baker there. Cryon, I want to say. Some Cybermen there. Cyber Leader. Attack of the Cybermen. Doctor Who. BBC DVDs. Same sort of stuff there. 2 Entertainment. BBC. Attack of the Cybermen. Colin Baker. Doctor Who. On the back, you've got the special features, which, to be fair, I do want to watch some of those after I've done this review, because, yeah, definitely an interesting one to probably see the special features for. All the legal guff, the synopsis, and then the row of stills from the episode and whatnot, the writer's notes, and the DVD disc, obviously. I think for me personally, well, ironically, the last episode that I'd reviewed of this recording 6 months ago, which is pretty insane to me, was Earthshock. Yeah, brilliant Cyberman story. This one, obviously, way big step down, unfortunately. And I think Doctor Who, with its longevity, it has a tendency, unfortunately, to obviously look back, which is fine from time to time, but I think whenever Doctor Who looks back, it does it in such a way where I think it's very prominent in the eras and or times that it has looked back. It's sort of self-indulgently sort of done that and doesn't overkill on looking back, but also does it because it doesn't know where to take the show next, or whether or not people will like where it's going next, you know. So rather than take that risk, they take it safe, but in doing that, you're alienating a big part of your audience. And I mean, it's indicative of what, you know, the 9th series of the new revived series did. You know, it very much focused on a lot of sort of, you know, stuff like Davros and the Daleks and then the Time Lords and this and that, and, you know, you begin to alienate your audience because not all of your audience will have seen all the things you're referencing. For example, this, as a Cyberman story, is probably brilliant if you're a really hardcore Doctor Who Cyberman fan. Fine. But if you're not, and you've only just been introduced to, like, the revived series, and you're about to put your toes into the water that is the classic series, and you recommended this one, I think it'd be not that good a story to recommend. Primarily because it very much harkens back to a lot of old Cyberman stories, and that's the thing. That's good if you're a big fan of the Cybermen, but otherwise, if you're looking for more of a progressive Cyberman story in the narrative of their run, Earthshock's a better story, hands down. You know, this one's a nice sort of just throwaway sort of celebration of the Cybermen almost, you know, because again, it very much focuses on the 10th planet. I think the sewer stuff in the sewers has reference to the invasion, I think. I do have that in my collection, I just haven't got around to watching it, so I think that's a reference to the invasion, you know, the stuff with the tombs, with the Cryons. They've got like tombs, frozen tombs. That's obviously a reference to the Tomb of the Cybermen, you know. But the thing is, what makes classic Doctor Who episodes, or some of the standout, really great classic Doctor Who episodes stand out and greats, is because they do something new. You know, Tomb of the Cybermen is brilliant because it's a new story and it's a new thing. You know, Remembrance of the Daleks. Well, okay, less so Remembrance of the Daleks. That's also kind of like this, a homage to a lot of older stuff. But, you know, Genesis of the Daleks does something new with the Daleks. It introduced Davros, you know. Imagine if that was just a homage to the past. No one would like it as much, probably, or more than likely. Yeah, I'd say the least offensive thing in this story was probably Colin Baker, to be honest, which is really saying something considering I've just said that I don't particularly like his Doctor. One thing that I will say that is odd to me, or that I've always found odd, is that Colin Baker's Doctor in this episode says, "Oh, don't worry, Perry, I'm never going to hurt you, I'm never going to do all to, hurt you or anything," and then sort of like, and that, which is really weird considering in the previous story, to my knowledge anyway, or the one thing I do definitely know about Twin Dilemma, is that it's notorious for him choking Perry, so, bit odd. Yeah, he is a bit abrasive and a bit alien and a bit distant, but I don't mind that so much. I think the biggest thing that kind of, and well, not annoys me, but makes me a bit iffy of this story is the bit where Lytton is attacked by the Cybermen and then there's loads of blood and that. I think Doctor Who, I'm fine with death in Doctor Who, but like visual violence and or blood like that I think's a bit much and a bit too much, I think, visually for Doctor Who. And yeah, granted, Colin Baker's Doctor Who or run anyway is notorious for how dark it is. I mean, if you take into account the amount of Cybermen that get destroyed in this story, yeah, there's a lot. Like, there's a lot of death in this story. Yeah, again, the Cryons are naff, really. The costumes naff for them. Cybermen, sometimes I couldn't even hear them, and the Cyber Controller was really abysmal. Lytton, for some weird reason, is in this story, so a character from Resurrection of the Daleks, which always, as a kid, and even now, because this is one of the earlier classic series Doctor Who episodes I've ever had in my collection, what always confused me is the fact that is Lytton's in this one, and yet that isn't a reference to a classic Cyberman story, but a Dalek story. Why is that? I have no idea, and I don't really care for his character, and he's quite essential to the story. And I think, as well, although it's only a 2-part episode, it feels like the equivalent of like a six-part John Pertwee story even, you know, in how long it is, and there's a lot of exposition and a lot of just, this is what the plot is, this is what the plot is, this is what the plot is, you know, like 3 times or something, because you've got a bunch of different characters, but then in doing that, it just solidifies how paper thin the story is. And that's why the characters are probably like, this is what the story is. Not because the audience is stupid, but just because it's that paper thin that they need to fill out the story and that. But how do you do that when it's really paper thin? It's got quite a few different, well, elements to it. Not so much even ideas, but different elements to it. And the way it ends is very meh. And the cliffhanger is very meh, like to part 1, where Perry's about to get attacked, and that, very generic, very boring. That's probably the biggest way I can describe this story, just boring, uneventful, boring, and just adds nothing to the mythology of the Cybermen. I think actually that's a lie, the only thing I can think of that it adds to the mythology, or not even so much the mythology, but adds a layer and or another bit of depth to the Cybermen, is that to my limited knowledge, I mean, I'm not a massive Cyberman fan, so you probably need to check this out somewhere else to whether or not this is true, but I think this is the first time in the show's history, in terms of the Cyberman tenure, so going from obviously William Hartnell's 10th Planet onwards, that we see visually on screen the Cybermen get converted, or people get converted into Cybermen, which is really horrifically horrible, but really good as well, because it's something new, it's something only in this one. And I have to admit, I do like the Cybermen, the sort of stealth Cybermen. I like that. What I will say is that I found it hilariously stupid and funny when Colin Baker's Doctor shanks that one stealth Cyberman with his sonic lance. Perry is excruciatingly annoying and doesn't do anything here. The Doctor, as I say, is probably the most bearable character, or the most, like, sort of character I found it worth investing any time and or energy in to. And yeah, I think that's just indicative of how bad this story is, really. And the first sort of 10 or 15 minutes of part 1 feel like a bank heist with a bit of Doctor Who-y stuff there, and then by sort of the latter end of part 1, that's when it becomes more Doctor Who-esque, but it feels very abrupt, and they don't merge the two very well, you know, of the bank heist thing and the Cyberman thing. They don't gel that very well, so it just feels like two very different stories, and then you just sort of get rid of one story and then just focus on the other, being the Cyberman one. So, but yeah, I think overall I'd just give this a 5 out of 10. I mean, it's probably nowhere near as bad as what I imagine Twin Dilemma to be. Not that I've seen that one. And I think, yeah, as a Cyberman story, I would probably give it a 3. But as a story as a whole, I think it's just okay. What I do want to know, though, is why they changed the format in Colin's run with Doctor Who. I'm very intrigued and interested to see why that is, or find out why that is, because, you know, it's weird, because it's like almost like going from Matt Smith's Doctor to Capaldi's Doctor, with the new Doctor being very, well, different in the direction they're taking him, but then also saying, oh, and also the format that you used to is also going to change. You're almost like guaranteeing that people will not watch. And I mean, there was a year gap between Twin Dilemma and this, and I think if I was to watch Twin Dilemma and then this, I would probably give this like a 10 out of 10, probably, because this is obviously a hell of a lot better. But then again, you're giving people a year gap, so the hype would have probably been like, oh my god, what's going to come out of Doctor Who now? That we're finally going to get something. And then this, you know, it's, I guess the Cybermen hadn't been in Doctor Who for a while as well, but, you know, and it's a bit stupid as well, seeing, like, Colin Baker's Doctor run about the place, and that, in his, you know, in his rainbow-coloured, you know, coat, and then Perry in a skimpy outfit, just running about the place, and that, it just looks cheesy, corny, and at times it just feels uncomfortable to watch, because of the corniness and that, and just the absurd situations. And considering the Cybermen, another thing that's always been a bugbear of mine with this story is that considering the Cybermen are supposed to be the bad guys and or the villains, they don't feel formidable. They often get themselves easily killed, and they kill a few people here and there, but still, they feel very paper thin here. And their motives are just to, as I say, stop what happened in the 10th planet, and that's about it. But yeah, thanks for watching, comment, rate, and subscribe, and as I say, I would give Attack of the Cybermen a 5 out of 10. Thanks for watching, bye.